to contracts.
That's right.
Period. People turn to the public sector when they don't have access to the private sector, thinking somehow that there's going to be this access and this opportunity. I don't know what all of the particulars of what provided in the stimulus package for DOT, but from the little that's said here or there, it sounds as at least the U.S. DOT has made it sound as if here we're giving you some opportunity to do some things a little differently, whether it's around bonding or whatever else, in order that you can expand your reach and your depths in utilizing minority and women-owned firms, and maybe create a different kind of model. So I think that one of the things we have to do is, irrespective of what's happening now, we have to figure out, not be constrained by what is, or the programs that exist, or the initiatives that exist, but figure out, based on the findings, what is it that we need to do? I mean,
right.
what are the goals that we need to set? And so, irrespective of what exists, can you put all that aside and figure out how do we go about doing this, and how do we engage everybody in this room, and the thinking and intelligence here, and fixing it? I mean, the issue is fix it. So Mr. Secretary, I won't tell you how to do your job, but I tell people in my office, I got good, smart people, and we know how to reach out, and whether it's Shelby or Bridget or Curtis or Henry or whomever. And the only thing I said, fix it. All I want to know is what resources do you need to fix it? And I think that that's how we ought to approach, how do we fix this? Because when you look at a lot of the firms who get the centrally let contracts, and you look at what they do in their private sector work, they don't utilize these same firms. They don't utilize minority and women-owned firms. We don't have in North Carolina a commercial non-discrimination clause. Do we need to have that conversation, or are we too scared?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we need to have a commercial non-discrimination clause. Here, we need to work at making that happen. And really, I think the challenge is to take this study and figure out, what do we want the world to look like? Because this is about economic development. This is about North Carolina. This is about not underutilizing firms that are out here that have the ability. I even question sometimes the definition of capacity, because sometimes capacity is constrained by opportunity.
Right.
Period.
Dr. Boston
Period.
talking about.
I know how long he can talk about that. And we can argue about that too.
We have.
We will, and we will continue to do that. Because I have no capacity based on your formula to paint the yellow line on trees. I can buy some paint. I know some people that got some other money. We can get together and get it done, and it don't fit your model. I told somebody I told somebody I worked in the Commerce Department under Secretary Clark Fairclough, and who had nothing in his office but a desk and a chair. And at one point, state government had a requirement that you go to Chapel Hill if you were a secretary or a deputy secretary or an assistant secretary. Remember those days, and you had to go through this training. And he went to the training, and they told him to be successful, you had to do this, that, and the other. And so he asked the professor, how much did you make last year? And he told him, well, I made that last month. And he got me left. So, they are models, and then they are models. So, I think that, I'm just saying that, we have to be realistic. Some folks fit that model, and some things happen that way, and some things don't happen that way. But I would hope that we don't get constrained by DOT got this program, and they got this effort, and here's what's here, and here's what's there. The issue is, how do we fix it? Because if the state of North Carolina, they are over, I would say today, I'm still saying there are over 75,000 minority-owned firms, and 3-4 times that number of women-owned firms, who employ over 120,000 people. If that many people, businesses, if a business that employs that many people were going to come to North Carolina, how much would our state invest? And what would the incentive look like?
That's right.
There would be no issue. There would be, so why are we going through all of this? We have these businesses that are contributing so much. All they want is another chance.
Yeah. I guess, Ross raised his hand, but call him.
Well, I appreciate the dialogue, and I think it's all been good from my perspective, but to speak directly to Reverend Barber's point, this study is now concluded, but I see it as the starting point for where we go from here. We've got all the good information now. We understand a lot more than we did about how these different programs work and which ones work better than others. So, I view this as part of that public dialogue, Reverend, where we do admit that we've had significant problems in the past, and we're trying to overcome them. So, and we want to work with you and the others here to start addressing those and moving forward. So, I believe this is the start of trying to address those issues, not the final report on them at all.
Right. And I just think that to respond to we're in this room today, and I'm glad to be, this central, this is like, my son is going to be here, and Andrew said, and I can couch my statement and kind of like him. He graduated from the School of Science. Man could have gone anywhere. I don't get into all of that. Anywhere. But he chose to come to Central. Like my daughter chose to go to Bennett. Now, why did both of them, who could have gone to Harvard, all of those places, out of high school? And they said, because we want to make an investment to make those schools better. My daughter went to Bennett because she said, if I go as a valedictorian, I can help recruit other valedictorians. Right. My son's coming to do science, even though this is not, what he wants to do. What he wants to do here, but he says I can help. That's the real issue. Is how do we take all of this ugly past and present, but turn it? And the reason I mention that about it's good to be in here, but we have got to say it very publicly. Very publicly. It's not about wanting to be on camera and but it's got to be public, because so much has happened in this state and does happen in this state that we never have an openness about it. And it's only through that openness of truth-telling that it begins to free us up. And I know we will get to that, and that's why I want to put that on the table. And those folks that are out there have got to know that the businesses, that it's a new day. That and we're going to be doing some things. We must do something, not doing that. We must do things differently. And it's not about one or two individuals making it in. It's about a systematic change within the system. Yeah.
Hey, can I say something else? Today, I may have gotten myself in some trouble that the rod had to go clean up or fix it.
Fix it.
The rod had to go fix it. And this was not DOT, but a federal agency, sent us some information. And that federal agency spent a lot of time, and I'll even say the name of it, Minority Business Development Agency. My response back to that agency, there's an opportunity that they have to, do some things in, I think, an influence environment federally. But because the Minority Business Development Agency has so long been underfunded and treated like an unwanted federal agency, that the people who work there act out of that kind of psychosis that exists in the department, and so I said to them today that, it was Harriet Tubman that said, I freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed thousands more if they had only known they were slaves. And I think sometimes when you function in environments that have been institutionally oppressive so long, that oppression is no longer even realized because it is a part of the very fabric of who you are. So it takes new leadership and people coming from the outside in order sometimes to say, okay, lift this. I think that's what we celebrated about your coming to the department.
That's right.
You've worked at different levels.